Okay, fantastic. Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Ryan Molyneaux. I work in Gloucestershire College. We are down in the southwest. We have quite a bit of nice sunshine today. Hope that's the same where you are around the UK. What I would like to say, hopefully I've got some of my colleagues on the call as well. So if any sort of further questions or further sort of points that are raised throughout this presentation, if any chats or questions do come in, then we don't get a chance to answer them, then we can obviously reach out to us again further, and hopefully we can follow on those discussions off the back of that. So please feel free to be as interactive as much as possible. So what I wanted to have a look at today is kind of give you a bit of a scope of where we are in this AI landscape. So we call it Beyond the Hype. I know that, but the sort of strategies for further education. But what I want to do is just more importantly highlight where we are as a college and the sorts of things that we've kind of working towards, what we've been involved with to develop ourselves as kind of educators in this AI world as well. So this presentation today is also brought to you by Gamma. Okay, so if you've not used the Gamma tool before, then hopefully this will be the first time you will be able to see it in presentation mode and how it looks. So any further questions you have about that, then please do let us know. And there's certain things I'll demonstrate within Gamma as we go through the presentation, which makes it a very sort of like accessible tool as well whilst delivering the information. So as I said before, this presentation just looks at our institution's approach. That's our college there, that's our Gloucester campus. Nicely well situated within the middle of the city centre on the lovely waterfront. So we've got the college there, and on the other side, you've got the main quays with the shopping area, the restaurants and bars, which is a nice place to go to. We also have a campus based in Cheltenham, which is quite busy last week. If obviously the races are on, so that's quite a hectic place, especially coming back from DigiFest last week. We had to go through Cheltenham. So that was quite interesting, getting on the train. Must have been getting on the train about 6 o'clock with about 10,000 other people stood on the train station trying to get on to get home. And we have one campus as well, which is down in the Forest of Dean. So we have a multi-site college, and therefore we do liaise as much as we can over those three sites, as probably some of you do as well. So that just gives you hopefully a bit of understanding of what we are as a college. So off the back of the DigiFest keynote speaker we had last week, so hopefully if you did go to DigiFest, you had an opportunity to go in there and listen to the keynote speaker, Paul, on the Tuesday morning. And I thought it'd be quite nice actually to kind of start off and continue this theme with these the brilliant failures. So if you do remember that, hopefully it puts a smile on your face, because it puts a smile on my face after remembering the keynote speaker. And I think, a member of our team has now gone out to actually order the book for our libraries. Therefore, we're going to go share that around staff as well. So we look forward to reading that. But I'll just share you my sort of 3 brilliant failures, nice and quick. Job applications, some of the ones I've been unsuccessful for. I took 3 attempts to pass my driving test. Okay, so, they were my fault. We always like to blame somebody else, but it was my fault. It wasn't anybody else. And I think the last one there is probably the most profound one, thinking that I never failed at something. I think sometimes when we've got to look back and see what have we actually achieved, but actually sometimes what have we actually failed at. So that was quite nice to look at. So, what I've actually gone through and sort of like failures that I've noticed rather than actually the successes. So over the last week, I have been very reflective in that respect. So if anybody else has been, that's fantastic. But I've just thought it was quite, pertinent to what we went to last week at DigiFest, just to kind of link on to that. So, and this is something we're going to probably look to embrace a bit further within the GC environment as well. And when I mean GC, I just mean Gloucestershire College. That's obviously where we are. For here, I'm just going to turn on the spotlight so you can see up here in Gamma, and I'm just going to just highlight this, very similar to how you would see the transitions in PowerPoints. First of all, it's like a statement of truth. I mean, our approaches, we approach it with AI with humility and responsibility, and we're not experts in any way, shape or form. So I just want to quickly state that, but we are always learning about AI. So whenever we do presentations or we're talking to people, we're very quick to say this. We are learning, but we're not experts. So all we'd like to do is do the reading, and then we feed back. Our mission at GC is to guide both staff and students through the evolving AI landscape and empower them to make informed choices about the tools and applications. And that's obviously what one of our main focus is. And our belief. So we believe that understanding AI's capabilities and limitations is crucial for everyone in our community at GC. So that's kind of like a bit of an approach that we want to take. But first and foremost, as I've said, I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be an expert whatsoever, but I'm a committed learner to develop my own personal understanding of AI in all facets and how that can be implemented within the college as well. So just wanted to quickly lay that out at the very beginning. So one thing we've had a look at is here is I won't play the video. If you maybe it shows my age, I suppose sometimes you've got to have reflection upon, you know, little moments in your life. But I remember this video when it came out, it must have been about 20 odd years ago, I think it was. And it's kind of a bit of a statement of how you kind of see how the AI world is at this moment in time. So when I actually look at what is out there, what we actually see in AI, what we kind of like hear in AI, it does seem like a wild, wild west, like anything's going out there at the moment and someone's quick enough to start something and then they'll take over something else and something else takes over something else, somebody gets left behind, somebody gets moved on. So we have to be very understanding that it is a bit of a wild, wild west. So we like to approach it that way, but more importantly, approach it with a logical and kind of like a sensible head. So, you know, if I do share the slides afterwards, feel free to go and watch the actual video, which reflects on it as Will Smith, but I'm not going to play it now. So that's just a bit of a highlight for you. The first thing I want to say about what we've been doing at GC is we're trying to build a collaborative network. When I started the post back in April 24, this was very, very, very new. We had an existing team within the college and a fantastic team we'll work with as well. But at the same time, we thought, well, we're working within our own sort of like confined space. We need to be able to reach out to maybe look at other sort of networking events and see what other collaborations we could be involved with. So I'm just going to highlight some of the actual collaborations that I've kind of like personally been involved with, and so have the other members of our team. So we've engaged with other colleges to share best practices and explore how AI can benefit both staff and learners alike. So the first one is in Coleg Segar. Hopefully Brian is with us, you can understand I pronounced that correctly, but the Informal AI Network. And last week I joined that and they had the brilliant Scott Hayden on there talking from his perspective about his impact and what he's seen working in his college in Basingstoke, okay, and about but it's important to actually come together to be part of that sort of like collaborative community. One of the other ones that we've been kind of getting involved with is Kirklees College. I went up to Kirklees College last year, met Kirsty myself. And so from that, we've kind of like been involved in the Create AI TIP clubs, and members of staff who work with, they are kind of involved within the AIC community as well, which is obviously set up. But these are another way of building our collaborative network, be able to reach out and have our discussions, have our communications, and learn from what other colleges are doing. There's so much amazing practice going out there in the FE sector that, you know, without being able to reach out to these other colleges and see what's going on, we would be stranded. We don't want to be in Ireland. We want to be part of the actual community. Another college we reached out to at the start of the year was Windsor Forest Group. I spoke with Roddy Peters. They've got the AI Education Summit, which takes place in October. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to that one last year because I was away on holiday. But we discussed conversations about Winnie. And if you're unfamiliar with Winnie at all, then that's their sort of like internal AI system that's been developed. That's a fantastic kind of way to start the process that has allowed us at GC to look at very similar systems and in the process starting to incorporate those over time. We have tried some haven't worked without a shadow of a doubt, but we are persistent in that kind of approach. So there are 3 colleges that we've kind of like worked or been involved with, had conversations with, attended events to look at that sort of collaborative network. And more importantly, the ones that are Kirklees and the Coleg Segar, they have been driving this collaborative approach. And we're the ones that have jumped on the bandwagon to be a part of that. But without that opportunity, I think we'd be navigating these murky waters alone. So again, that's a fantastic opportunity. I haven't really done so to reach out to colleges. Another one which we reached out to is Exeter College. Chris Temple Murray is a fantastic member of staff down there, and we talked about POBOTs for student revision. I met him at one of the Jisc regional meetups it was down in Bristol, and we just talked about that and the impact that's had for his students, and hopefully we'll see the impact of what it may have on our students in a couple months' time once they've sat their exams. So again, without having an opportunity to collaborate with other colleges, we never would have thought about that idea. SGS College, that was where I previously worked. The amazing Jake Barnes, and she was down at DigiFest delivering a session as well. We looked at different AI tools and VR learning. That's something we are still exploring, and I'll talk about that in a little while. But we just want it's about sharing ideas, kind of seeing what works and what doesn't work. But again, using that as our collaborative networks to really reach out and kind of like see what other communities are doing out there. And the last one I want to mention is it's not till really tomorrow I'm meeting with Byron Love, but I met with him up at DigiFest as well. And we're looking at VR and teaching because that's our main sort of direction of interest at this moment in time, is what we can incorporate in. So we reached out to City College Plymouth, and we're talking about VR for teaching and learning. Now, these are only just 6 colleges here that we've tried to collaborate with, but there's many other collaborations that we've come across by being involved in the wider networking events, and especially at DigiFest. But I think without building this collaborative network and people we can lean on, people we can talk to, people we can reach out to in the FE community, we wouldn't be, I don't think we would be in a position we are now. And I think, as an FE sector, we are driving this forwards, specifically, the development of AI within FE. But I think coming together collective as a whole, because the guidance that sits outside of us is very limited. And I think we are kind of like going at this alone. So I think by having like an en masse approach and supporting each other through this, we generally do have the sort of the persuasive powers potentially to allow awarding bodies to see what we're doing internally, to maybe allow them to guide what they need to be doing from their perspective to support assessments for students as well. So, as I said, the collaborative approach has been fantastic. I'm sure you've all got your own collaborative networks out there and you've been involved in those, but please, just let you know that we are, if anybody wants to reach out to us in any way, shape or form, we are more than happy to have those conversations. So that's first and foremost where we stand on our collaborative network and our collaborative approach. So once we've done our collaboration and we've kind of looked at all the important things that go in that we need to have a look at, we've got to come back and kind of scale it back down again to the beginning. And this is generally what we did. We wanted to have a look at our guidance. Well, what's going to direct our channels of thought when it comes around to looking at AI in itself? I mean, the first thing we have is our Ofsted approach. We know then that sits there. And we generally like to make sure you've got the 5 pillars in the Ofsted approach to artificial intelligence. And they're the sorts of things that we look at and we want to ensure that we're embedding. Now, we know that when you read into this in a little bit more detail, it's not the most specific and it's not the most guiding, but it does give you an approach, which is more important. That's why it's called the approach. So we've used that as our kind of starting block of what we want to have a look at to build our foundations over time. So again, this is from the ground up approach. We also went to have a look at the JCQ use of assessment privacy for AI. And we looked at the key important factors within that. And again, I'm pretty sure within all the individuals that are obviously on this call today, that you've kind of looked at these documents at some point, but we found them very, very useful as a starting point for the information that we then wanted to allow that transparency across so staff can see, actually, yes, do you know what? These are our guidelines, but these guidelines have come out of sort of concrete factual information from GCHQ and from Ofsted, not from just something like Wikipedia's produced or another website, for example. It doesn't have that same level of robustness. So that's where we wanted to kind of get our main guidance from. And of course, then we got the AI maturity toolkit. So if I just click on a link here, for example, which I will do in the presentation, it takes you straight into the link, another great facet of Gamma. But obviously we go down and we use this maturity model for education. And again, it's a bit of a plug for Jisc, I know as well, but we have used this as a bit of our guiding light at this moment. And, kind of where we sit are, kind of like in a sort of in between our understanding and our exploring. And we're quite happy to kind of admit that. And over time, we want to be, looking at operational embedded, but I think that's a nice way to start. So we did go back and really kind of like look at the base layers of what we needed to build on, the foundations of building a house. These are our foundations of building our approaches to using AI at GC. And I thought they were fantastic, and Jisc have been really supportive in doing that. And then sort of the information and research that does come out, we are kind of like quite quick to kind of embed that into our practices. So, but alongside the other sort of official governments that you've seen, guidance from Gov UK and the JCQ. So off the back of that, what we decided to then do, so apologies, I've just gone forward one more, I'll turn the spotlight back on. What we then did is we went to create our own governance group off the back of that. So within the governance group, we have members from the curriculum team, safeguarding, business intelligence, which also encompasses finance, and the IT team. As you can see there, where they generally sit on the north, south, east, west side of the compass, it looks at ethical responses, kind of look at our technical responses, strategic, and sort of operational. So we try to generally incorporate all the people that can come together to allow this kind of governance group to oversee how things work. But from our perspective, it's really important to have somebody in there from safeguarding. It's in the Keeping Children Safe in Education Act. Online safety is part of it, and we believe that having somebody from our safeguarding, one of our designated safeguarding lead on that panel, gives us a real strong opportunity to demonstrate the powers of AI, but more importantly, how to approach it cautiously. And if you see now, they just released a new document that's just come out from the newspapers yesterday about how social media platforms are having to address their main issues when it comes around to students or young persons accessing social media and the potential fines that can be imposed upon them if harmful content is not actually being removed in a sufficient amount of time. So, all the sorts of things that safeguard, they're informing us of what's going on, then it allows us to kind of inform staff as well. So it's kind of a bit of a two-way approach. And just a bit of a plug there, this actual infogram was designed by Napkin AI. If you haven't had an opportunity to try it, please do so. It's a fantastic way of generating images very, very quickly indeed. And I know a member of staff, we have Freya, she's a very good, or an advocate of Napkin AI. So to go over it, there we go. So the data management, responsible for overseeing data integrity. Obviously the finance looks at the AI initiatives are financially viable, because it's great to go to an executive committee and say, can we just invest all this money? But realistically, we need to have a look at it. Safeguarding, as we said there, on the ethical implications, the curriculum of how it can be embedded, IT, because inevitably there has to be an infrastructure in place, and the business intelligence. So these are all of the members of staff that come together that form our actual governance group, and we meet on a monthly basis. So it kind of gives us a bit of a strong foothold in each area of the college to support the development of AI. So it's kind of taken seriously and not just kind of like a bit of a whimsical approach. It's a very robust approach, and that's something we have taken here at GC. Once we kind of established that, we thought, well, let's have a look at what is out there at the moment. So how can we get involved in being part of the process of understanding AI better? And so we've been just put out 2 pilots that we're involved with last year, 2 very, very successful pilots. The first pilot was the image generation pilot, and that was led on by a member of our staff, Amina, who may be on this call today. But she actually led on this image generation pilot. And I believe the feedback has actually been sent back to Jisc, and we're waiting like a formal sort of like a report on what it is. So what it was if you weren't part of it, is all looking at AI image generators, and the AI image generators specifically that we looked at were Canva, Adobe Firefly, ChatGPT-4, and Copilot. And if I was just to give you a brief, quick link that takes you into it, for example, it allowed us to go through and have a look and produce a report on here. These are our prompts, for example, which we want to have a look at. And then it just literally went through all these different sort of images off the back of the prompts. And we were just looking at the quality of the images, the importance of the images, and obviously how well they relate to the information, and are they actual, so they tick the boxes for, we're talking about biasness, we're talking about fairness, we're talking about the appropriate genders and ethnicities. Is there an approach there that kind of, when we hit those prompts, we are getting exactly what we have asked for? Moving across to how we use the Firefly, if I just open these up, for example, we can see the approaches here. But again, we're starting to realize that some of these images don't really come out that well. So this allows us to actually, take this information from this actual pilot itself, take away back to our members of staff, and kind of analyze that in detail and think, well, actually, which ones do we actually want to use? Which ones are the better image generators out there? They're going to give us the appropriate images based upon the requirements of the prompt that don't demonstrate biasness, they actually promote fairness, and of course will have the correct levels of kind of ethnicities kind of like incorporated within those images as well. So that was something we spent a bit of time doing, and that was all done through Jisc. So, and that was a fantastic pilot to be involved with. So again, that gives us a lot of information. And I think off the back of that, I think, Amina, we're on a call here. I think Canva was the one that we looked at that was the most appropriate, that gave us the best responses to all those images. So we now know that when we actually come around to supporting our staff, we've just recently signed up Canva for Education. We will now direct them to say, actually, do you know what? Canva for Education gives you the best image generations when we're using AI, and that's what we want to promote off the back of that image generation pilot with Jisc. So that was really fantastic to be part of. The other pilot that we were part of was a LearnWise, and hopefully have anybody within the call today will realize that if they're part of it as well. So we were one of 15 colleges to be involved in the pilot. It was a Jisc-sponsored pilot again, which gave us an opportunity to have something for free. Again, another fantastic way to be involved and seeing what is out there, to try something for free. And again, sponsored by Jisc. And we looked at actually, how can we embed an AI system into our GC website? Now, they did have a look at SharePoint. You could have a look at a VLE or the web page. So we decided to have a look and incorporate this actual onto our web page. If I open up the link for you here, this is our GC website. And in the bottom right-hand corner is our LearnWise app. Now, this is where any student any parents, any kind of person who's inquiring about the college website itself, or trying to get some further information about GC, this is where we want to direct them to here. This is where we want to find all that information that's scraped off our websites that can be used for that to make their decisions or for the information required before they actually commit to come to the college. So therefore, the application processes, open events, anything at all they want to get access to is via the LearnWise actual app, and that sits here just on the screen. We're on the process, but this will be changed inevitably. We just finished a pilot no more than just about 4 or 5 weeks ago now, and we have actually signed up to LearnWise for 1 academic year, and we're going to kind of continue with this process of having a website assistant for 1 further year. Off the back of that, hopefully, we will then kind of look at our systems and what we may need to do for our infrastructure, and then we may look to embed that system across multiple platforms later down the line. So the idea is we want to explore the actual kind of the opportunity to have one-stop shop. So one application can fit many purposes rather than having sort of like many AI purposes for one thing. So we just want to really embed with a company that we feel the beliefs of, we feel their sort of their strategic approaches and the understanding of our needs as a college. And we felt LearnWise did that. So we've kind of partnered with them, and hopefully that partnership will continue for the next few years without a shadow of a doubt. So we feel that the benefit is there for us. And I think we've got the most out of that. And that was a pilot. So that was just off that. But it was something that we kind of got involved with, and we felt the benefit of that straight away. And I feel that's allowed us to really engage ourselves within what people actually want when it comes to having conversations about what they want to learn and what they want to study, and the information about what they require prior to studying, and that allows us to do so. So when you come up to my spotlight back on, as you can see up here. So for example, this is just apologies on this one here. So this is just an insights tab. This tells you, for example, off the back of the application I just demonstrated on our GC website. This is over the period of since the actual pilot, which is about a good few months. We can see the number of interactions we've had, how many people have actually asked the conversations within the actual chat itself, the resolution rate of those questions, and more importantly, how many conversations per user and answers per user. So we know then that the majority of questions and conversations that have been asked, the responses have been answered promptly. This has then allowed us to redirect our kind of like our direction of work away from our student support services that would have to consistently answer these emails, to allow them to actually kind of focus on other important areas within their job, and not have to consistently go back and answer, repeat or reply to the same sort of responses to the emails that have come up. So this has given us a great opportunity to really look at what the students are asking, the kind of conversations that they're kind of promoting, and more importantly, give time back to staff, not to have to consistently apply back to those emails. The other thing, it gives us the trends. So we know then what people are looking at. So when they're asking for us on the website, what sort of trends? We know that 70 interactions have been talking about the programs, 69 interactions about the application process. So this can hopefully gauge us with our website itself and how we can actually improve our website, because we know what trends are out there, what people are asking for, and what sort of communications they're getting as well. So we keep an eye on that, so we can actually just keep an eye on the trends of what people are asking for on the website assistant. Apologies, turn the spotlight back on. And then more importantly, one we had to realize, we had to collaborate. So we collaborated with marketing, student services, safeguarding, business intelligence, finance, and IT to get this pilot off the ground and get it running. More importantly, it allowed us to maintain close working relationships with those individuals within those departments to maintain the use of this actual LearnWise AI assistant. So that interdisciplinary approach has really allowed us to really feed into those departments that maybe wouldn't actually be involved in these decisions, but are, you know, a primary focus, because we now know that our website needed to have a bit of review. So we had to look at ourselves, and we had to adjust some marketing materials on the website, you know, the student services for where they need to actually respond back to email. So we did come together as a college approach to give this a real good shot, because I think if we hadn't have done that, we may not have succeeded at it, and it would have been one of my other brilliant failures, or the college other brilliant failures. But I think at the moment we're in the process of turning a corner to really see the benefits of this AI assistant. So, and again, it's that holistic approach, because we don't want the website just to be a sales function or a sales pitch, as it says there, but to be a holistic approach where anybody can actually get all the information they require prior to coming to GC. And that's all on there as well. So I think one quick example, if I just want to say, we had this on over Christmas, and we shut, because obviously our college shut for 2 weeks over Christmas. but we had all this, the actual AI assistant was consistently working throughout that time, and people were still actually engaging with that over Christmas, and they were asking, is the college open if it's snowing? Kind of like, when do I have to come back in? What's my first lesson back after Christmas? But more importantly, on there as well, we also had signposting for individuals that required some support, for example. So we did have some signposting on there if they needed to reach out to get information that we couldn't actually provide them face to face. So that was a fantastic option to see that as well. So that was one thing that we were very proud to actually offer those students at that time. Okay, so then let's talk about the learners. So what we wanted to do is have a look at how we can actually support our students in a better way. So we need to understand student perspectives, see what tools they are using. We need to have a look at the data insights, to have a look at the feedback we are getting in order to actually implement a strategy, and then student voice. So we want to see what students are doing to actually allow us to guide our next direction of where we want to go with AI. So I'm just going to open this link again because it just sits in Gamma. It works quite well. We did the survey. I'm not going to spend lots of time talking about this, but as you can see, we had 468 responses, which we think is a very good turnover. I think that's a good sort of sample population of the college to give us some good direction about what we wanted to understand about our learners and how they use AI. As you can see here, we'll go down. There's lots of questions. I'm not going to pull it apart just now. As you can see, do you use AI to support learning? Are you aware of AI skills for the career you're studying for? How confident are you? How do you use it? But I think the one we were most interested in is what tools they were actually using. So we now know that off the back of the sample population, we need to cater for Snapchat and for ChatGPT. So you can see all the other ones they're actually used, but we know that the majority of our students are using Snapchat and ChatGPT, but students probably don't know that ChatGPT is actually in Snapchat. So technically, if you put those two together, it would be the same. But we now know that actually we need to our approaches to AI are, we need to look at how Snapchat's being used and maybe consider approaches to ensure that it's been used correctly. So that's something that we haven't started to put this into action just yet, but this is something we're going to bring forwards when I go around to meet with the student groups over the next couple of months in order to understand more about what they're using Snapchat for and the AI systems within that. And so we did that. So this has kind of come into it, and more importantly, what they use tools for. And you can see that most of the students are using it for research, assignment work, and others. So we now know that we've got ChatGPT as the main tool that they are using, and they're using it to support their research, and they're using it to support their assignment work. So or note taking, as we can see there. So we need to, when we go around to talk to students, we are in a better place to be prepared to demonstrate, actually, we have listened to what you've said, and we want to develop some AI specific skills that can support you. If you are using it for assignments, for research, or for note taking. So that's something we looked at for our student survey. And I thought it was very important to get that student focus to understand really how they are using it. So off the back of that, again, from the ground up, that's one of the first things we wanted to consider from the ground up. So what are they actually using, how they are using it? Okay, so then this kind of like pushed us down the pathway of having a look at this assessment scales. So if you aren't familiar, this is Leon Furs. I'm more than happy to share this afterwards. You can click onto the site and that will take you straight through to the actual original AI assessment scale. And that was developed last year. And I know we'll talk to other colleges about this and what they're doing around it. So we've kind of had a look at how we want to implement it. I just want to say at this moment in time, this has not been implemented yet. We are working on this behind the scenes to have a complete implementation with this within our assessment policy, and then to be rolled out to students in September. So this is what we're doing at the moment, but we're doing all the behind the scenes work now to kind of have this in place. So this is the original kind of concept of the AI scale as documented by Leon Furs last year. So we decided then to take our first approach to have our stab at it, and we decided to do ours. So we had our assessment scale, and we had a 5-point assessment scale, which is run straight off the back of what Leon Furs did. So we thought we'd use a similar sort of terminologies and similar sort of systems in place with obviously little logos that go with it, that students could then understand in their assessments what level of interaction of AI they could actually use. Again, just to stress, this will not be rolled out till September, but obviously we're in a process of bringing it together and obviously maybe trialing it before then. But then our feedback was 5 was too much. And then I think the actual the differentiation between some of the terms, the planning, collaboration, exploration was a little bit blurred. So there's certain blurred lines. So then we went to have a look at our version 2, which we did. And then all we did, nothing dramatic, we just took one out. We just basically went to 4 instead of 5. So again, we just looked at no AI, AI planning, AI exploration, full AI, again, with the actual logos at the top of it here, which a student would see to understand exactly what they could use AI for. But then when we sat back, we realized actually, do you know what? We're trying to keep this as simple as possible, simple for staff, simple for students. They know what they are doing. And then we thought, well, the AI exploration and the AI planning still sound similar. So I'm pretty sure you know where this is going to go now. We had version 3. And version 3, we pulled together. And as you can see, we stripped it back down to just 3 icons this time. And I'll post your example. So we've, at this moment in time, with the feedback that we've had from staff to this date, through our working groups that we've formed, no AI, AI planning, and full AI. So this is kind of where we are at this moment in time, and I feel this is probably our best approach moving forwards to allow staff to really understand, the simplicity of what the AI is. Then it's up to us to educate the staff around how this will actually be embedded in their assessments going into September next year. So that's something that we did as part of it. So as you can see, a lot of from the ground up, a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of discussions, talking to staff and getting feedback and kind of like moving along the scale. So that's currently where we are now. And that's something we want to move into as of next year. So another thing that we've done with our staff, again, this is kind of coined off the AI literacy series that Jisc has put out. So we're kind of like, we share those. So in our kind of like our Teams and Microsoft Teams page, we have a thing called Learning Communities. And we have a working group for AI as well. But we kind of post those sort of like notifications of literacy series when they come up. So I think sometimes people realize actually this is for all staff, but it's not just for digital staff or staff involved in AI or teaching and learning, it's for anybody. So any member of staff that works for the college can access the Jisc Learning Communities. So especially the series, so we want to promote that. So we push that out. And that's available for every staff. We want to we do more of this now because we want staff to have the ownership to sign up for these sessions. Then we kind of have our own. So we had our first one last month, and we've got another one coming up on Thursday, where we are looking at our own version of that. So we're taking what's come from the Jisc AI literacy series, and we've supported it with what we've, over the last kind of like 4 weeks, of what we've learned at GC, and we're going to pull that together for staff to come along to. And I think this one we're talking about is kind of like AI literacy, but also about, successful prompting and some of the tools that we've looked at GC, so staff can become aware of it. So we're giving them an opportunity to join a Jisc session, and then they can come to one of our sessions. And last but not least, we have our working group, which is based on curriculum and professional services, to come together to discuss all things relevant to AI. And that's kind of like overseen by the governance group. So the curriculum group, professional services group, overseen by the governance group. And our wonderful colleague Freya, she designs little AI badges. Everyone loves a little badge to go on their sort of lanyards. So anybody that's an active member, not just a participant, but an active member, gets one of these AI badges. So when they walk around the college, they can see, oh, that's an AI badge. Therefore, I want to talk about that. I can talk about it with that member of staff or any questions they may have. So that's something that gives somebody a bit of an ownership and a bit of responsibility. So they have a little badge that goes with it. So that supports our literacy series. So what we do now, we want a continuous journey. We don't want to stop this. So what we've done is we looked at how can we develop our resources. We've looked at, when we spoke with staff initially, resource development and assessment were the two biggest sort of like things we needed to consider to support the process of integrating AI into GC. So we looked at resource development. So the creative tools that we've embraced now are Canva for Education, which our account just recently went live a couple of weeks ago. We did have it for about a month before that, but we tested things behind the scenes. So now Canva for Education has gone live for all our staff and students, which is fantastic. But without its teething problems, which we're trying to figure out, but that's just the way it goes. Adobe Express is sat there as well. That's mostly for our media students and our kind of creative students. Goblin Tools is one of the ones that we have, we are pushing out. And obviously Gamma, and that's what the presentation has been brought to you by today, is Gamma. Okay, so they are the sort of the ones that we're looking to. So a very sort of small set of tools to keep things quite confined. So we don't really want everyone to go crazy and start embedding lots of tools, but these are the sorts of ones that we really want to develop because these are ones that can help staff and students. And then we have our assessment innovation, where we look at Edpuzzle. That's just been brought in as a free trial at this moment to see how it works. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we get some good feedback to maybe invest in that moving forwards. And then, our best practices. So our collaborative growth, we want to call it. So that's within GC and the best practices. And we have like our professional development days where we have our forums and workshops where we can really allow this journey to progress onwards and gather that momentum. So therefore, what we don't want to be doing is just kind of having a bit of a, a bit of a stopgap. We want to keep that momentum going. So that's our collaborative growth. So that's what we're trying to empower staff at GC by having the correct resources and the correct opportunities to embed AI into assessment. I know we've had lots of conversations about this, but I won't spend too much on this. We haven't really ventured into the world of VR at this moment in time. I've had conversations with South Staffordshire College. I've had conversations with Metaverse and Redbox VR, Arbor, lots of different people out there, and reached out to the other collaborative communities, especially the the AIC community based out of Kirklees College and Kirsty Ingelson's team up there. But we're exploring. We haven't ventured into it yet, but we are considering our options and we're just exploring. So we don't feel the pressure to go out and actually to invest at this moment in time. We only want to invest if there is actual, not just for technology's sake, but actually what's the greatest impact on student engagement and learning outcomes. And if we can't find that, then it's moment in time, then we're not going to actually invest into it. So this is something we're currently exploring. So we don't have anything as of yet, but it's something we are kind of looking at this moment to kind of support our digital transformation strategy. But we won't, so if we were to come down to GC, it'd be fantastic to see anybody, but you won't see any VR at this moment in time. So maybe fingers crossed in the near future, but we shall wait and see. So we're just exploring at the moment. One of the big things that we have decided to do, just to kind of like finish off with, going on one slide after this, is to leave Moodle behind. We feel the need now is to cut the ties of Moodle. It's been the backbone of the VLE GC for quite a while, but we have just literally just pulled the plug this year, and we're moving solely onto Teams as a VLE and kind of embracing all the sorts of features that Teams has. So we have just said goodbye to Moodle, and it gets cut off on the 5th of July this year. I know people may have their own sort of like versions or, rationales behind keeping Moodle or moving away from it, but, more than happy to have those conversations with anybody. But yeah, we just decided now's the time to move away, to fully embrace that sort of move into the Teams environment. And of course, all the AI features embedded in Teams as well, that we'll kind of like support our staff on. So, and our key takeaway steps, or key takeaways, next step to GC is we want to embrace the collaboration. Working with Jisc and other colleges are essential for sharing knowledge and collaborative innovation. So we will always want to do that. So we always want to be supportive out there to any college that we can kind of work alongside, and more importantly, they can kind of like we can meet up and discuss ideas, because that's where the best ideas are had, and they're the ones that have kind of generated where we are today at GC. And I thank you all those people we've had discussions with within the collaborative networks have allowed us to really embrace that and demonstrate the positive sort of like feedback that we can see at the moment in GC. Look at staff training without a shadow of a doubt. Looking at we always want to do more. We can do as much as we can, but I think we really want to get on the bandwagon, offer as much opportunities to empower staff with essential AI skills, and we want to get out into the classrooms more. So again, starting from hopefully just I think it's after a couple of weeks after Easter, we're going to be into the student classrooms, because we've got the opportunity now. We're just going to create the resources, and we want to go and deliver it to the students themselves to actually kind of like listen to them as much as possible, gauge what they're doing, and take it away. So that's where we are at GC, and that's kind of our processes we've taken at this moment in time. So that concludes the presentation there, Helen. So I'll stop sharing the screen.